Chapter 1751. In an instant, the expression on the Grand Supreme Dean's face froze. Ha! Ha! His face was filled with embarrassment. The aura that Luo Qingtong released was thick and solid, surging violently. It was not something that could be achieved by forcefully increasing it. Not to mention that she was able to retract and release this aura freely. It was obvious that her understanding of the realm was very solid. Oh my, where did this evil Dr. Kid get such an opportunity? Who would have thought that her strength would jump 3 or 2 times a day? It was no wonder that his thoughts were crooked. The corner of the Grand Supreme Dean's mouth twitched. He looked at Yi Qianming, who was standing beside Luo Qingtong with a dark and cold expression. He felt an indescribable guilt in his heart. Cough! He coughed lightly and was about to say something when Yi Qianming's cold voice rang out. This honorable one will never do anything that is disadvantageous to her, no matter what the outcome is. As he spoke, he looked at the Grand Supreme Dean with an icy gaze. There will be no next time for today's matter. He did not care if the other party misunderstood him, but he could not do anything related to Luo Qingtong. Cough cough cough. Yes, yes, yes. I understand. The Grand Supreme Dean coughed violently and hurriedly agreed. There was no other way. Who asked him to be in the wrong? Fortunately, there was no one else here. Otherwise, he would have lost a lot of face. The Grand Supreme Dean thought and immediately changed the topic. That's right, evil Dr. Brat, didn't you say that you were going to treat my injuries? Hurry up. I don't know how long I've been waiting. The Grand Supreme Dean had never thought that there would be a day when his injuries could be cured. He was overjoyed and almost hurriedly waved at Luo Qingtong. As for the previous awkwardness, he had completely thrown it to the back of his mind. Luo Qingtong looked at him and held back her laughter. She did not deliberately keep him in suspense. Instead, she directly walked in front of him and began to treat his injuries. Boom! Under Luo Qingtong's precise treatment, the terrifying energy occupying the Grand Dean's body was slowly removed by Luo Qingtong. Speaking of this, it must be mentioned that Luo Qingtong could see through her Do technique that the entrenched power in the Grand Supreme Dean's body was very strong, but she didn't know how strong it was. Now that she had come into contact with it and gotten rid of it, she realized that this power was far stronger than she had imagined. In the past, she had thought that the Saint Realm would be able to eradicate these forces. Now that she had come into contact with it, she realized that the power of the Sage Realm was not enough. She was only barely able to accomplish this with the strength of a saint. Moreover, this was because her strength was far stronger than ordinary Saint Realm experts. Otherwise, even with the assistance of his eye technique, he wouldn't be able to completely deal with these forces. The Grand Principal was probably not an ordinary person. Luo Qingtong looked thoughtful. Boom boom boom. Luo Qingtong slowly removed the power from the Grand Dean's body. His strength was also rapidly recovering and increasing. Surpassing the Saint Realm, the Saint Realm, the Sage Realm. By the time Luo Qingtong had removed all the power occupying his body, his strength had already increased to the level of a Saint General. He was only a little bit away from breaking through to the Saint General realm. This was because the power occupying the Grand Supreme Dean's body had just been removed and had not fully recovered. Otherwise, his strength would have increased by another 1 or 2 levels. Chapter 1752. As for the Grand Dean, after feeling the surging power in his body that he hadn't felt for a long time, he laughed loudly. Ha ha ha. I finally got rid of those damn things. Ha ha ha. As he spoke, his body suddenly burst with crackling sounds. Then, a much younger Grand Dean appeared in front of Luo Qingtong. His face was like jade and his eyes were like cold stars. He was very handsome and didn't look more than 30 years old. Ha ha ha. The Grand Dean laughed heartily. As his strength recovered, his face also returned to how it was before his strength was damaged. It was really great. Thank you. Evil Dr. Baby. If you have any problems in the future, just tell me. As long as I, Shui, can do it, I will never say no. The Grand Supreme Dean's face was filled with excitement. He didn't know how many ways to get rid of the power in his body, but it didn't have any effect. If he hadn't met Luo Qingtong, he didn't know how long he would be suppressed. This evil Dr. Baby was really his lucky star and savior. The Grand Dean was extremely happy. Luo Qingtong looked at him and smiled. Grand Dean, with your strength, you should be from the hidden world, right? Cough. Yes. When she mentioned the hidden world, the Grand Dean felt very unnatural. But he also knew that this matter couldn't be hidden, so he didn't deny it. Oh, then will the Grand Dean still go to the hidden world? Let's go together. Luo Qingtong looked at him and asked. Cough. Not going, not going. I'm not interested in that place. The Holy Court of the Empire of Qin still needs me. I'll just stay here. Not knowing what he thought, the Grand Dean waved his hand for a while, as if he was afraid to avoid it. Luo Qingtong looked at him and raised her eyebrows. Just as she was about to speak, Yi Qianming's cold voice sounded from the side. It's hard to repay a love debt, of course he doesn't dare to go. Yi Qianming's words had just reached this point when the Grand Dean jumped up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. You, how did you know? He stared at Yi Qianming with bulging eyes. Yi Qianming snorted and ignored him. At this moment, swoosh. A golden arrow quickly flew over and appeared in front of Yi Qianming. Swoosh. He raised his hand and caught it. As his thoughts ran through it, his expression instantly froze. Qingtong, let's go back to the black field. All right. Seeing his expression, of course, Luo Qingtong didn't say anything more. Yi Qianming raised his hand and pulled her over. The two of them disappeared in an instant. Hey! Mings! The Grand Supreme Dean was hopping mad as he watched them leave. You of T-test. Are you F asterisk 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 T? The Grand Dean of the Grand Ming. Of ye of SSTTT of Holy Court of Qin TT, returned to the main city. TTT Bei Qing and Fengyu, who had been waiting on the flying boat for a long time, responded in unison. In the blink of an eye, the Atlas flying ship shot out like a sharp arrow. Swoosh! As the flying boat flew out, Luo Qingtong looked at the man beside her and asked, Qianming, what happened? Why are you in such a hurry? Chapter 1753. Chu Lingfeng is missing. In the far west wilderness, after Yi Qianming received Chu Lingfeng's message, he sent him to the Blackfield's main city to recuperate. The latter's injuries were too serious. His blood and strength had almost been sucked dry. If it weren't for Chu Lingfeng's physique being different from ordinary people, he would have died long ago. But even so, his situation wasn't optimistic. Yi Qianming sent him to the Blackfield's main city to ask Elder Yu to treat Chu Lingfeng. Otherwise, Luo Qingtong wouldn't feel good. However, just now, Elder Yu suddenly sent him a message saying that Chu Lingfeng was missing. Shwa. In the Blackfield's main city, Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianming's figures flew out of the Atlas flying ship. Yi Qianming held Luo Qingtong in his arms and appeared in the medicine hall in a flash. Hey, little Yi, you're back. And you, the little evil doctor girl, are also here. In the medicine hall, Elder Yu frowned. No one knew what he was thinking. When he heard the noise, he immediately raised his head. Yes. Luo Qingtong didn't bother with small talk. She went straight to him and asked, Elder Yu, what happened to Chu Lingfeng? How did he disappear? There were many masters in the Black Field's main city. Chu Lingfeng was injured, so it was impossible for him to leave by himself. But if someone came to snatch him, who could snatch him from the many masters in the Black Field's main city? Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianming had just returned. They clearly didn't find any traces of battle in the Black Field's main city. Oh, you mean that big fool? His situation is really strange. Hearing Luo Qingtong ask about Chu Lingfeng, Elder Yu's brows instantly twisted. I saw him disappear in front of me with my own eyes. Girl, I'm afraid your subordinate isn't from the true Spill continent, right? At least not all of them. He said and looked at Luo Qingtong. The girl's brows slightly twisted. His life experience is somewhat unusual, that's right. Elder Yu said, I studied it carefully for a long time. If I'm not wrong, he should have been summoned by his blood relatives using a special method. Elder Yu said, his blood is very special. At that time, all the blood in his body boiled, and then he was wrapped in a golden light and disappeared. Hearing his words, Luo Qingtong frowned. A blood relative related to Chu Lingfeng. Yin Nyang's side was definitely impossible. Then, was it Chu Lingfeng's father, whom he had never met before? Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong's frown deepened. Elder Yu SSSSS. Okay. Elder Yu said and led Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianming to the place where Chu Lingfeng was recuperating. That big block had disappeared here. He said and pointed to the couch in the room. Okay. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. The bloody light in her eyes flickered. Soon, the whole scene in the room was replayed in her eyes. Boz. Luo Qingtong's SS eyes clearly showed the scene of Chu Lingfeng's disappearance. The blood in his body started to boil and wrapped around him tightly. Then, his figure disappeared in the middle. As for Chu Lingfeng's boiling blood, it was golden in color. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed fiercely. Soon, she realized that a ray of light was being pulled out of the blood and disappeared into the void. Chapter 1754. With a pop, the blood-red light in her eyes suddenly extinguished, and her body involuntarily staggered forward. Qingtong. Yi Qianqian's eyes narrowed, and he raised his hand to pull her into his embrace. I'm fine. Luo Qingtong shook her head and looked towards the direction where the light had disappeared. The power contained within was too strong. Her current strength was not enough to support her eye technique to trace the direction in which the other party had left. However, according to what she had just seen, Chu Lingfeng's disappearance was most likely related to his father, whom she had never met. Moreover, it was likely related to his own physique. Perhaps Chu Lingfeng's severe injuries had stimulated some changes in his physique, attracting his father's attention. This caused the other party to sense his existence and use the bloodline connection to summon him. The other party's strength was not ordinary, and it was obvious that they were from the outer realms. Luo Qingtong frowned. Qianren, I need to make a trip to Wild City. She had to tell Yen Nyang about this. All right. Yi Qianxian looked at her and nodded. He could see that Luo Qingtong had used the same method she had used to track down the whereabouts of grandfather Luo to investigate Chu Lingfeng's whereabouts, but she had not been able to find anything. Obviously, the other party was not from the true Spill continent, and their strength was very strong, far beyond the scope of Luo Qingtong's ability. As for Chu Lingfeng's matter, I will have Bei Qing inform the people outside to pay more attention. You don't have to worry too much. His voice was low. Since Chu Lingfeng is of the other party's bloodline, and he has also inherited that person's physique, the other party should not do anything to him. This may not be a bad thing for him. Luo Qingtong looked at him and nodded, then her figure flashed and disappeared into the air. Then, a spirit ship flew out of the Black Field's main city. Master, what did you say? Far West Wilderness, Savage City. Hu Yin-yang stood in the lobby of Family Hu's main courtyard and looked at Luo Qingtong, whose face was pale. Feng Er, he, was taken away by that man. Hu Yin-yang looked pained. She had never thought that Chu Lingfeng would be taken away by that man. Didn't the other party not know about her and Lingfeng's existence? Back then, when he returned, didn't he already know from Bai Feng and the others that he was already dead? Why did he take Ling Feng away? He used his bloodline connection with Chu Lingfeng to take him away. If I'm not wrong, it should be related to the constitution Chu Lingfeng inherited from him. Luo Qingtong looked at her and whispered. I understand. Hu Yin-yang's body was on the verge of collapsing, but she managed to stabilize herself in the end. After training by Luo Qingtong's side for so long, and being in charge of such a large force, she had interacted with all kinds of people. She was no longer the naive girl who was at a loss when something happened. Master, she looked at Luo Qingtong, then suddenly bit her lip and asked, I want to cultivate. Do I still have a chance? Hu Yin-yang knew her own body well. Her strength had been greatly reduced back then, and her body was almost hollowed out. It was a miracle that she did not die back then. It was almost impossible for her to cultivate now. Chapter 1755. But this time, she couldn't help it. Chu Lingfeng was her only hope and wish in this life. Because of this son, because of his company, Hu Yin-yang was able to live a life worse than death for so many years. She couldn't lose Chu Lingfeng. That man was so powerful, he might not lack children by his side at all. But Chu Lingfeng was the only one for her. Hu Yin-yang wanted to cultivate. She wanted to openly snatch her son back from that man's side. Mistress, can I do it? She looked at Luo Qingtong with a pleading expression. Yin-yang. Luo Qingtong frowned slightly as she looked at Hu Yin-yang. The latter's physical condition wasn't difficult for her. She could easily help her make up for the losses she had suffered in the past. But the difficult part was that Hu Yin-yang's soul had left her body before. Her soul had suffered great damage, and there was always a gap between it and her body. Luo Qingtong could make up for Hu Yin-yang's soul, but she couldn't remove this gap. As long as this gap existed, Hu Yin-yang's future cultivation achievements would be limited. She couldn't increase her strength to a very high level. Not to mention other things, she couldn't even cross the unity of heaven and man in the martial emperor realm. This was the most troublesome part. Luo Qingtong looked at Hu Yin-yang and frowned. She was thinking of how to explain this to her without making her too sad. At this moment, Little Pig's voice resounded in her mind. Hey! Wait! Who said she can't cultivate? She can. The moment it said that, Luo Qingtong's words paused and she swallowed them back. She asked Little Pig in her mind, how can it be? Her soul left her body for too long. It's in a half-spirit, half-ghost state. It's been contaminated with too much death aura. It's completely entangled with her soul and permeated it. Even if it returns to the body now, it won't be compatible with the body. If she could cultivate, I would have helped her. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. As her subordinate, Yin-yang was in charge of her forces. If it wasn't for the fact that Yin-yang's body wasn't suitable for cultivation, how could she not help her raise her strength? There was simply no way to resolve this situation. Of course you couldn't in the past. But now you have the ancient heavenly spiritual wood. Little Pig said in her mind. That thing is an ancient divine wood. It's extremely good at nourishing the soul. It's not something that an ordinary divine wood can compare to. Those leaves. Rumor has it that one leaf equals one soul. Do you know what that means? That is to say, a single leaf from it can help one activate the soul seal and nurture the soul. Don't you have a seedling of that thing in your hands? It's the sapling that sprouted from the heart of the 1,000-year-old soul-guiding tree. You haven't forgotten, have you? Little Pig said. Pluck a leaf from it and give it to her. Immediately, her soul will be incomparably compatible with her body. At the same time, her soul will be completely sublimated and baptized. The previous drawbacks of soul detachment will completely disappear. Not only that, but it's also possible to activate a soul seal. Do you think the ancient heavenly spiritual wood is fake? Little Pig rolled his eyes in the 9-layered exquisite pagoda. He was very surprised when the 1,000-year-old soul guiding tree in Luo Qingtong's hand turned into an ancient heavenly spiritual wood. If it wasn't a good thing, why would he be so surprised? The benefits of the ancient heavenly spiritual wood were too many. Chapter 1756. Think about it, 1 leaf for 1 soul imprint. In other words, as long as one consumed enough leaves from the ancient heavenly spirit tree, one could obtain different soul imprints. However, with Luo Qingtong's innate mixed yuan body, she could use all kinds of energy attributes. In other words, the ancient heavenly spirit tree's effect could be maximized in Luo Qingtong's hands. Even if others obtained the ancient heavenly spirit tree, they could only consume 1 leaf at most. What was the use of having more soul imprints if one couldn't use them? For ordinary martial artists, it was already good enough to cultivate 1 energy attribute to the extreme. The more powerful ones could cultivate 2 or 3 types. One had to know that the more energy attributes one cultivated, the easier it was to disperse one's energy and achieve nothing in the end. However, with Luo Qingtong's innate mixed yuan body, she could change her energy attribute according to her will. In other words, as long as Luo Qingtong cultivated 1 type of energy, she could use all the energy attributes in the world. Under such circumstances, coupled with this ancient heavenly spiritual wood, to what extent would her strength increase to? Little Pig didn't dare to imagine. After hearing Little Pig's words, Luo Qingtong's eyes lit up. She raised her hand and took out the little sapling that grew from the heart of the 1,000-year soul guiding wood. Ancient heavenly spirit tree. Luo Qingtong looked at the little sapling in her hand. When Little Pig said that the little sapling's aura wasn't quite right and didn't seem like the 1,000-year soul guiding wood, she didn't pay much attention to it. She didn't expect this little sapling to be such a good thing. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and plucked 1 of the leaves from the sapling. This ancient heaven spirit tree sapling only had 2 leaves, and it was still a sapling. When Luo Qingtong plucked 1 of its leaves, it instantly trembled. Luo Qingtong looked at its movements and asked Little Pig, "Will its leaves grow again after I pluck them off?" "Yes, but it needs to have enough energy." The ancient heavenly spirit wood can be fed with soul power. The purer and stronger the soul power, the more obvious the improvement will be. It is the nemesis of many spirits and ghost cultivators. At the same time, it is also the target of their desire. If a ghost cultivator were to obtain an ancient heavenly spirit tree and refine it, they would be able to cultivate a specter's body immediately. But you don't have to be afraid. Inside the 9-layered exquisite pagoda, Little Pig crossed his legs and said, "You have the life and death yin-yang sword. No matter how powerful a ghost cultivator is, they're just throwing their lives away. As long as you don't attract a large army of ghosts, no one can do anything to you." "Yes." Luo Qingtong nodded. She put away the ancient heavenly spiritual tree sapling and looked at Hu Yennyang, who was opposite her. The latter was looking anxiously in Luo Qingtong's direction. Luo Qingtong was talking to Little Pig in her mind, so she didn't know what was going on. At that moment, she was waiting for Luo Qingtong's answer. "Master." Seeing that Luo Qingtong was silent for a long time, Hu Yennyang was mentally prepared. However, just when she thought there was no hope, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded. "Yes. Yennyang, take this leaf and eat it." Luo Qingtong handed the leaf of the ancient heavenly spiritual tree to Hu Yennyang. "After you stabilize your soul, I'll help you nurse your body." "Yes. Master." Hu Yennyang was pleasantly surprised. Chapter 1757. Thank you, Master, for your help. She knelt on the ground and kowtowed heavily to Luo Qingtong. Hu Yennyang could not imagine what would have happened if she and Chu Lingfeng had not met Luo Qingtong in this life. They would have been smashed to pieces and not even their corpses would be left. That was not enough to describe their misery. Luo Qingtong was their only salvation in this life. She was also their only faith in this life. Hu Yennyang swallowed the leaf of the ancient heavenly spiritual tree. In an instant, wisps of black gas seeped out from the top of her head. Those were all the turbid and foul gases that Hu Yennyang's soul had absorbed from heaven and earth after it had left her body. At this moment, those gases had all been cleansed away. Her soul was extremely clear, just like a newborn baby. It had completely merged with her body without any barriers. While Hu Yennyang was consolidating her soul, Luo Qingtong was preparing the medicinal herbs for her body to recuperate. Hu Yennyang's body had been severely damaged previously. She had been hunted down while pregnant and had almost died. Her body was like a huge sieve. There were holes everywhere and water was leaking out everywhere. What Luo Qingtong had to do now was to patch up all these holes. Her pupillary technique could easily let her know where Hu Yennyang's body problems were and then prescribe the right medicine for them. While helping Hu Yennyang recuperate her body, Luo Qingtong was not idle. She passed the wood spirit to Su Yu and the people from heavenly diabolism. The latter and the people from family who controlled the entire far west wilderness from the inside and outside. Starting from Wildland City, family who controlled the forces in the city, while heavenly diabolism dominated the wilderness in the Wildland City. Outside of the wastelands were led by the heavenly diabolism. Within the city, however, family who was the leader. The entire far west desolate region was under Luo Qingtong's command along with the expansion of their forces. Of course, in the far west desolate region, Luo Qingtong was known as Yi Jiu. The number of people who knew that she was evil Dr. Gui Tong and Luo Qingtong could be counted on one hand. Luo Qingtong didn't care about having another identity. In fact, she quite liked this feeling. It was a trump card, so why did he have to show it to others? She loved to see others foolishly stumble into something, only to realize that they had bumped into an iron plate. After receiving the wood spirit from Luo Qingtong, Su Yu and Tian Xie's people didn't say anything else. They handed over their tasks to their subordinates and everyone began to crazily close up and level up. Boom boom boom. As time passed, Su Yu and Tian Xie's people broke through to the Sage Realm one by one. Everyone's foundation was solid to begin with, and they had been trained in the army previously. Their minds were very tough, and they didn't encounter any obstacles. With the help of the wood spirit's heart, they broke through to the Sage Realm. Hu Yennyang also began to cultivate successfully under Luo Qingtong's care. Luo Qingtong gave her a wood spirit's heart for her to consume when the time was right. Then, they set off for the Blackfield City. While Luo Qingtong was heading to the Blackfield City, something big happened in the southern region. Boom boom boom. Heaven and earth shook violently. Countless terrifying waves of heaven and earth spirit chi twisted and turned crazily. The heaven and earth spirit chi radiating from the entire southern region was extremely terrifying. Chapter 1758. Countless screams could be heard. Boulders collapsed, mountains crumbled, plants exploded, humans and beasts were killed. In an instant, the entire southern region seemed to have fallen into a purgatory. Among them, the imperial sect suffered the heaviest casualties. Not for any other reason, but because the center of the explosion was the core area of the imperial sect. It was also the center of the 3 islands and 7 lands, the place with the most resources. The moment the violent and terrifying aura of the heavens and earth erupted, the core area controlled by the imperial sect was instantly split into pieces. Most of the Imperial sect members could not escape. Under the violent aura of the heavens and earth, they suffered heavy casualties. Ha! The heavens are really helping me. In a remote city under the control of the Imperial sect, a handsome young man with a dark expression and a ruthless gaze suddenly laughed towards the sky. He had waited for so long, but he did not expect to wait until today. "You see, Huang, you bastard, you probably did not expect such a thing to happen in the southern region, right? Even the heavens do not like you and want you to die." Ha ha ha. The young man's laughter became sharper. He flew out and shouted sternly, "Everyone, gather your men immediately and head to Imperial City." The Imperial sect's strength had been greatly reduced, and Yu Si Huang was injured and could not use force. This time, he would definitely kill Yu Si Huang. Yu Si Huang, this bastard, had stolen his things for so long, it was time for him to return them. The Imperial sect was his and could only be his. Yes. Voices of agreement came from all around him. Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianming also received the news when the southern region was in upheaval. Upheaval in the southern region, upheaval of the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Luo Qingtong looked at the report in Yi Qianxian's hand and saw that the Imperial sect had suffered heavy losses. The Imperial sect has suffered heavy losses. Will something happen to Yu Si Huang? Luo Qingtong frowned slightly. She understood the despicable nature of people. It was still fine when the Imperial family was flourishing, but now that they had suffered a heavy blow from the heaven and earth upheaval, it was inevitable that there would be people who would want to take advantage of the situation to kill Yu Si Huang and become the new overlord of the 3 islands and 7 lands. The last time Yu Si Huang was in the Saint King's tomb, he had obviously used a power beyond his own to help her, and he had been recuperating since then. If someone really had bad intentions towards him, it would be troublesome. Luo Qingtong couldn't let Yu Si Huang get into an accident because of helping her, otherwise she would feel guilty. Cough. Luo Qingtong looked at Yi Qianxian and coughed softly. "Qianren, why don't we make a trip to the southern region before heading to the hidden world?" She looked at Yi Qianxian's dark face and thought for a moment. Then, she raised her hand and pinched the corner of Yi Qianxian's shirt. She shook it coquettishly and said, "Qianren." The veins on Yi Qianming's forehead throbbed when she heard the sound of those rippling waves. Seeing that it was effective, Luo Qingtong's eyes became even more cunning. She continued to shake it. Hoo-hoo-hoo, her voice was full of twists and turns, and Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others who were outside felt goosebumps all over their bodies. The evil doctor was too cunning. It was obvious that she wanted to disgust their master to death if her coquettishness didn't work. Qianren, Bei Qing and the others swore that in their lives, they had never dreamed that someone would dare to call their master that. Furthermore, she was unharmed. They peeked at Yi Qianxian's expression. The latter's face was completely dark. "Go." Seeing that Luo Qingtong was about to speak again, Yi Qianxian gritted his teeth and pulled her into his embrace. He lowered his head and covered her lips. "Shut up." Chapter 1759. While Luo Qingtong and the others were heading towards the southern region, in a mountain outside Imperial City, Yu Xingqi's face was clever as he avoided a group of people who were searching and brought Yu Si Huang deep into the mountain. "Hey! Idiot brother, don't fall asleep. Wake up, you're so heavy, I can't carry you." As she spoke, she raised her hand to pat a certain someone who was half supporting and half carrying her. She had just saved Yu Si Huang from Imperial sect, he better not have anything happen to him. "Shut up." Yu Si Huang's face was pale. His devilishly charming face was filled with a pale expression. He looked at Yu Xingqi and wanted to say something in annoyance, but then he seemed to have thought of something and closed his mouth. "Put me down if you think I'm heavy, who asked you to save me?" His voice was cold. "Anyway, I'm not your blood-related brother. Go find Yu Tianqing now, Who knows, he might forgive your moment of confusion and save me, the bastard who stole Imperial Sect's nest. Yu Si Huang pursed his lips. If it wasn't for Yu Tiancheng's provocation, he wouldn't know that he wasn't the son of Imperial Sect's master and his wife, but adopted by them. Yu Tiancheng accused him of stealing Imperial Sect's nest, he couldn't refute. The parents he recognized for so many years were actually not his parents. The sister he recognized for so many years was actually not his sister. Even Imperial Sect shouldn't be his. This was simply ironic. Luckily, Yu Tiancheng was able to endure for so long, and finally waited until Imperial Sect's strength weakened, then he suddenly launched an attack. Yu Si Huang thought of those elders and protectors of Imperial Sect's defection, and his face was filled with sarcasm. Who wants to go find him? Yu Xingqi curled his lips as he listened. Just based on his unscrupulous character, if I go back to find him, I don't know when I'll be killed by him, or else I'll be treated as a beautiful flower vase to be married off. She said while wrinkling her nose, and said to Yu Si Huang, I can't go around causing trouble, and I can't take care of whoever provokes me. Maybe the trouble I caused in the past, in order to please others, he wants me to apologize to others, take care of me or something. I don't want to. Yu Si Huang listened to her words, his heart endured and endured, but in the end, he couldn't hold it in, gritted his teeth and said, So you saved me so that you can cause more trouble in the future? This little witch, he shouldn't have had any expectations for her. To think that he was even slightly touched when she saved him. Veins popped out on Yu Si Huang's forehead. Yeah, what else do you think it is? Yu Xingqi said as he glanced at Yu Si Huang, then he held his stomach and laughed. Ha ha ha. You didn't think that I would say something like, you're my only brother, and I don't want anyone else but you, right? Ha ha ha. In your dreams. She made a face at him as she spoke. You bully me every day, and you want me to say these words. Is your face big enough? Imperial Star Qi. Yu Si Huang looked at her appearance and instantly clenched his teeth. Shut up. Who is the one with the bigger face? Who bullies you every day? Wasn't it her who caused trouble every day, and liked to argue with him? If it wasn't to clean up her mess, Imperial Sect wouldn't have been developed to this point by him. It must be known that when Yu Si Huang took over Imperial Sect, the latter was far from reaching its current scale, let alone unifying the 3 islands and 7 lands. Chapter 1760. But then again, after being messed up by Yu Xingqi, the sadness in Yu Si Huang's heart was not that strong anymore. Alright, let's just say it's half and half then. Yu Xingqi rolled his eyes, then muttered, That's why, stupid big brother, you must be good. I can't deal with Yu Tiancheng, that treacherous bastard, so I can only bully you. Nothing must happen to you. Or else I will become a pitiful person without a backer. Then I can't cause trouble as I please in the future. Yu Si Huang listened to her words, and really gritted his teeth for a while. This little demoness, if he didn't die from anger, he wouldn't be satisfied. But seeing that Yu Xingqi didn't mind his fake brother identity, he was actually very happy in his heart. Of course, if this damn girl's words were a bit nicer, that would be even better. Other than dissing him, she couldn't speak properly, right? Alright, don't look like I'm going to die in the next moment, I'm still alive and well. You can say these words after I'm dead, so that I won't be angered to death by you. Yu Si Huang looked at her and rolled his eyes, and said in annoyance. Then, the pair of bewitching phoenix eyes instantly became incomparably fierce. If Yu Tiancheng wants to kill me, it won't be that easy. Imperial Sect was developed by me to this extent, if he wants to snatch it away, dream on. That's right, that's right. Seeing that Yu Si Huang pulled himself together, Yu Xingqi's heart was happy. Previously when brother found out that he wasn't father and mother's child, he was in a daze, she was worried when she saw him. If not for this, how could Yu Tianqing betray him so easily? Wasn't it taking advantage of brother's unease and weak body, and couldn't use force? Or else, he wouldn't be able to move Yu Sihuang. Let's go, brother, let's continue to walk inside. As long as we can hold on for this period of time, everything will be fine. As long as Yu Sihuang recovered his strength, let's see how Yu Tianqing and them die. And such a big thing happened in the southern region. Yu Xingqi believed that Luo Qingtong must have received the news. Knowing that something happened in Imperial Sect, she would definitely come over to take a look. At that time, she would make Yu Tianqing and them suffer the consequences. Daring to bully her and brother. Yes. Yu Sihuang didn't say anything, allowing Yu Xingqi to support him into the depths of the mountain range. At this time, Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian had also arrived in the southern mountain range. The situation in the southern mountain range was more serious than she had imagined. There were broken scenes everywhere. As for the changes in the Imperial Sect, they had already reached her ears. It was said that there was a rebellion in the Imperial Sect. Yu Sihuang was not the son of the previous Imperial Sect, but was adopted by them. He had already been expelled from the Imperial Sect, and his whereabouts were unknown. Her expression abruptly changed. Evil doctor. Bei Qing and the others looked at Luo Qingtong. They had already arrived at the core area controlled by the Imperial family. Let's search for Yu Sihuang's whereabouts first. Hearing that Yu Sihuang and Yu Xingqi went missing together, Luo Qingtong's heart relaxed a lot. Yu Xingqi, that sly spirit, had a bunch of black-bellied ideas. With her by Yu Sihuang's side, Luo Qingtong believed that they wouldn't get into trouble so quickly. As for the people in the Imperial Sect, Luo Qingtong's eyes coldly looked in the direction of the Imperial Sect's headquarters. Chapter 1761. Yes. Bei Qing and the others responded. They glanced at Yi Qianming and seeing that he didn't object, they immediately scattered and began to search for the whereabouts of Yu Sihuang and Yu Xingqi. Soon, they found out that the two of them should be in a mountain range near the Imperial City. The group immediately rushed over. At this time, Yu Sihuang and Yu Xingqi were blocked by Yu Tianqing's men. Damn it, is this guy a dog? He actually caught up so quickly. Yu Xingqi looked at Yu Tianqing and the others and gritted her teeth. She deliberately brought Yu Sihuang to this mountain range. It was because the spiritual energy fluctuations here were the most intense. Under such circumstances, it was reasonable to say that Yu Tianqing and the others couldn't find their whereabouts so quickly. What was going on? She was thinking when she suddenly saw the fish in the mouth of the little white cat beside her and instantly became furious. Do. This big foodie. Where did the dried fish in its mouth come from? This was clearly not the dried fish that she gave it. This guy, he was really going to be killed by it. Yu Xingqi looked at the chubby little white cat in her arms and wanted to strangle it to death. No wonder Yu Tianqing and the others found them so quickly. The dried fish in this guy's mouth had clearly been processed and there was an aura on it that could be tracked. If one touched it, they would be infected. Meow. She suddenly lifted it up and glared at it fiercely. The little white cat was confused. It didn't know that there was a problem with the dried fish in its mouth. Yu Tianqing didn't use any special poisonous powder or spice, it was just a very ordinary seasoning. But when it was mixed with something on his body, it would form a special tracking aura that only he could sense. I already guessed that you might be restless, but I didn't expect you to side with Yu Sihuang so much. Yu Xingqi, you've probably forgotten who your real brother is. Yu Tianqing's eyes were malicious. Fortunately, he did something beside Yu Xingqi. Otherwise, if Yu Xingqi saved Yu Sihuang like this, when the latter recovered his strength, all of them would have to bear the consequences. After all, the strength of the southern region's monarch king was not to be underestimated. If it weren't for the fact that the other party was heavily injured during the last trip to the far west wilderness and couldn't use his strength recklessly, he wouldn't have been able to touch the other party even if the imperial family suffered heavy losses. But this time, all the ifs were fake. Yu Si-Huang had fallen into his hands. Once he killed the other party, the entire imperial family and even the southern region would be his. Bah! Your face is as big as a basin. Yu Xingqi rolled his eyes at him. Whose brother are you? Even if my brother isn't my brother, my parents only gave birth to me. It has nothing to do with you. She muttered to Yu Si-Huang, stupid brother, I wronged you in the past. Your face isn't big enough. It's really not big. Someone's face is much bigger than yours. He was just an illegitimate child. It was his mother who climbed into his bed and set up his father to give birth to him. If it wasn't for his mother being soft-hearted and taking pity on him, he would have died a long time ago. Now, she's actually plotting against me and my brother. He even acted as if he was her elder brother. Who's his sister? She didn't recognize him. Although Yu Xingqi dissed Yu Si-Huang every day, she only recognized him as her brother. No matter if he was a child or not, it was all the same. Chapter 1762. Yu Xingqi. Yu Tiancheng's face was ice cold. This stinky girl, her mouth was really cheap. But it didn't matter, he didn't want her as a sister in the first place. Saying this was just to prick Yu Si-Huang's heart. But now, it seemed like it didn't have any effect. Seeing Yu Si-Huang's expressionless face, Yu Tiancheng's heart was furious. He couldn't watch the other party make a fool of himself anymore. Since it was like this, then these two siblings could die together. This way, Imperial's sect would be completely his. Yu Tiancheng never thought of letting Yu Xingqi go. Now that she was with Yu Si-Huang, it saved him a lot of trouble. Do it. He suddenly waved his hand. AI. Wait. Seeing his actions and the people coming from all around, Yu Xingqi quickly shouted. Humph, want to beg me for mercy? Pity, it's too late. Yu Tiancheng sneered. But Yu Xingqi looked at him with disdain. You're thinking too much. Her face was full of disdain, then she said to him, I just want to tell you, evil Dr. Gui Tong is my sister. And Yi Jiu, you know Yi Jiu, right? That's my brother. And Blackfield's Ming Zun, that's my brother-in-law. If you dare to go against me, I'm telling you, be careful of your dog life. Yu Xingqi's face was full of arrogance, as if she had a backing. Who was she afraid of? Yu Tiancheng heard this and laughed. Evil Dr. Gui Tong is your sister, Yi Jiu is your brother. Blackfield's Ming Zun is your brother-in-law. He sneered. Yu Xingqi, do you think I'm an idiot? Let's not talk about Yi Jiu for now, just evil Dr. Gui Tong and Blackfield's Ming Zun, who doesn't know that Yu Si-Huang went to the Blackfield and offended Blackfield's Ming Zun. He's your brother-in-law. I'm afraid he can't wait for you and Yu Si-Huang to die. Yu Tiancheng snorted. How could he not know about Yu Si-Huang's matter? Yu Xingqi was afraid that she wanted to live so much that she could make up such a ridiculous lie. Unfortunately, he wouldn't fall for it. And Yu Si-Huang at the side, originally wanted Yu Xingqi to leave. He had used a forbidden technique in the Sage Monarch's tomb, so he was temporarily powerless. But that didn't mean that he couldn't use any strength at all. However, the result of forcefully using it was that his meridians would completely explode and he would die. However, since he would die in the end, he naturally wanted Yu Xingqi to live. Regardless of whether he was his parents' child or not, he had made an oath in front of them that he would take good care of Yu Xingqi. This was something that would never change. So no matter how much Yu Xingqi dissed him, he never completely turned against her. At this moment, he naturally had to do his best to send her away. However, he looked at the black-bellied little lowly and asked in a low voice, "When did Yi Qianming become your brother-in-law?" That guy was clearly his rival in love. Could this little witch be any better? How dare you stab my heart like this? She really wasn't his biological sister. I'm just bluffing. Yu Xingqi looked at him and rolled his eyes. You're still arguing with me about this at this time. You're the one who couldn't get elder sister to come here. Are you blaming me? The two of them could not help but start bickering with each other again. At this moment, Yu Tianqing waved his hand. A group of people from the imperial school who were under his control had already rushed towards them. Clang, clang, clang. Countless murderous auras were emitted. Seeing this, Yu Xingqi no longer bothered to bicker with Yu Sihuang. Hey, elder sister. Brother-in-law, you're here. She looked at the place behind Yu Tianqing and her eyes suddenly lit up. Chapter 1763. She raised her hand and pointed at Yu Tianqing and the others. The latter and the others were shocked. Especially Yu Tianqing. Yu Xingqi's gaze was looking behind him. Could it be that what she said was true? Seeing Yu Xingqi's eyes shining, waving her hands, she didn't care about those imperial sex people who rushed in front of her and Yu Sihuang. His expression abruptly changed. Shwa! He suddenly turned his head and looked behind him. Following his action, those imperial sex people who rushed in front of Yu Sihuang and Yu Xingqi couldn't help but look behind him. With a glance, there wasn't anyone there. Ha ha ha. I'm lying to you. Idiot. Yu Xingqi's voice rang at this time. Do. She called out, and the little white cat in her arms darted out. Roar. The little white cat turned into a huge white tiger in an instant. Yu Xingqi brought Yu Sihuang and jumped on top of that white tiger, making a face towards Yu Tianqing and the others. Then Dudu's figure rushed forward, for claws in the air, disappearing in front of Yu Tianqing and the others. Damn it! This stinky girl. Yu Tianqing clenched his teeth. When he saw that there wasn't anyone behind him, he knew that they were tricked by Yu Xingqi. If he knew that this stinky girl had a lot of tricks, the words she said couldn't be trusted, but he was still tricked by her. Yu Tianqing's heart was filled with anger. Looking in the direction that the little white cat left, he shouted sternly. Chase after them. The smell of the seasoning wouldn't disappear so easily, unless Yu Xingqi, this stinky girl, didn't want this white tiger. But even so, her and Yu Sihuang's body was already stained with that smell. Let's see where they ran to. Yes. The group of people chased after them. And Luo Qingtong and the others had already rushed into the mountain. Yu Tianqing and the others left behind quite a lot of traces. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with blood. The time reversal eye technique was activated, instantly locking onto the direction they left. Go! She followed the image of Yu Tianqing and the others entering the mountain range in her eyes and flew straight ahead. Chasing after the figures of these people, there should be a high possibility of finding Yu Xingqi and Yu Sihuang. Even if they couldn't find him, it didn't matter. This meant that the two of them were still safe. As for Beiqing, Feng Yu and the others, they scattered in all directions, each entering the mountain range to search for traces of Yu Xingqi and Yu Sihuang. Shwa! Yu Xingqi and Yu Sihuang both sat on the little white cat's body. Yu Xingqi patted the little white cat under him. Do your best. Get rid of those people. In the future, I'll ask my sister to make you some seasoned dried fish so that you can grow up quickly. Otherwise, I won't be able to shake him off. Humph. Yu Xingqi lightly snorted twice, full of threat. Don't blame me for making dried fish for you every day. You're the one who caused all this trouble. Yu Xingqi twisted its ear. What a glutton. If not for it, she and her brother would not have been discovered by Enchanting. Roar! The white cat let out a low growl, feeling depressed. It also didn't know that there was a problem with the dried fish. Who knew that Enchanting and the others were so treacherous? For the sake of her future rations, the little white cat used all her strength to rush forward. Chapter 1764. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth in this mountain range was violent. At this moment, there were still many aftershocks wreaking havoc. These residual auras, before Yuxingqi and the others were discovered by Tianqing and the others, were very helpful in disrupting the auras of Tianqing and the others. It could prevent them from being discovered by Tianqing and the others so quickly, and it was also very easy for them to avoid being searched by Tianqing and the others. However, they had already been discovered by Tianqing and the others. The remnant aura had instead become an obstacle for them to escape. Roar! Every time the white cat's figure went to a place, she could only avoid the aftershocks when she saw them. Like this, its speed was restricted, and it kept changing directions, unable to completely shake off Tianqing and the others. After running forward for a distance, a huge cliff appeared in front of it. There's no road ahead. Yuxingqi frowned. The cliff in front of them was nearly 1,000 meters long, and the fracture was very clear. Obviously, it was broken during the World Spirit Chi riot. It was unknown whether the earth inside had been shattered by the spiritual chi of heaven and earth this time, or if it had completely sunk. In short, there was a huge bottomless pit that looked like it was bottomless when one looked down from a bird's eye view. Yuxingqi looked at the cliff in front of him and frowned. Right at this time, Tianqing and the others caught up. Humph! Looking at the broken cliff in front of him, Tianqing sneered. Run! Yuxingqi, let's see how you'll escape this time. As he spoke, he waved his hand, and in an instant, the people following behind him dispersed, moving towards Yuxingqi and Yuxiwang to surround them. This time, he wanted the other party to die. Yuxingqi, that stinky girl, he'll see how she'll deceive him again. Xingqi, leave. Yuxiwang's gaze was cold as he swept his gaze across the crowd of people from the imperial sect who were surrounding him. These people, who had previously risked their lives for him, had now completely changed sides in front of Tianqing. However, it didn't matter. If these people wanted him dead, then they would pay with their own lives. The light hidden in Yuxiwang's left sleeve flashed, and 3 silver needles had already appeared in the gaps between his fingers. He could still stimulate his body's potential one more time and temporarily recover his strength. However, the consequence of doing so would be his meridians exploding and he would die. Tianqing was also clear of this point, that was why he brought so many people to chase after him. Otherwise, with what he did to the little white cat, he could have chased after her alone. Yuxingqi and Dudu, they weren't his opponents. Tianqing Yu, and Duan Tianqing, he wanted to completely eliminate all future troubles. Brother. Yuxingqi was you. Yuxingqi felt Tianqing's. Just at this moment, her eyes swept behind Tianqing, and she suddenly cried out in surprise. Sister. Her voice was filled with unspeakable surprise and excitement. Tian Yu's. Yuxingqi, this move of yours is already useless. Let's not talk about evil Dr. Ghost Eye and the others, they wouldn't appear here at this time, even if they did. If you're his sister, then I'm Blackfield's Ming Zun's father. Chapter 1765. Ha! When Tianqing's voice fell, instantly, a young girl's crisp laughter came from behind him. Luo Qingtong originally appeared behind Tianqing and the others with a murderous look. She followed the time reversal image in her eyes and chased all the way here. Very quickly, she found the scene where Yu Tianqing and the others met with Yu Sihuang and Yu Xingqi. After that, she rushed over with Yi Qianxian. She didn't expect to hear such explosive words the moment she came here. Luo Qingtong held back her laughter as she looked at the man beside her. In the end, she still couldn't hold it in. Ha ha ha. Her laughter was exceptionally crisp and pleasant to the ears. In an instant, it reverberated between heaven and earth. Who? Hearing her laughter, instantly, Yu Tiancheng's heart was shocked. He fiercely turned his head and immediately saw the figures floating in the air, like a pair of immortal couple, Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian. The man was wearing a black golden robe. Golden robes were originally the most expensive. At the same time, it was also the most tacky. But at this moment, this golden robe with black stripes was forcibly suppressed by Yi Qianxian's aura. The man didn't even show his face, but this golden robe became his embellishment. It made people feel that the domineering and noble aura in this robe all came from him. Buddha in golden robe also emitting light. Demon with golden edges, demon also like Buddha. The man's aura was both immortal and demon, domineering and biting cold, unpredictable. And Luo Qingtong was wearing a black robe, the cut was clean and neat, showing off her domineering and noble aura. Wearing that oppressive black robe, she exuded a devilish and unrestrained aura. And charming and beautiful. That pair of slanted beautiful eyes flashed with a bloody light, just like the world's most beautiful jade and amber. The noble beauty of this place was hard to describe. The moment he saw Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian, Yu Tiancheng's heart fiercely jumped. Who are you people? He shouted sternly. But his voice was indescribably fierce in appearance but weak in heart. These two people, no matter who it was, the aura emitted from their body was not something he could compare to. Yu Tianqing was once incomparably jealous of Yu Sihuang. Because the other party's talent was better than his, stronger than his strength. No matter if it was appearance or talent, he firmly suppressed him. He didn't even have the heart to compare with the other party. Even if Yu Sihuang had heart disease. But at this moment, in front of Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian, he couldn't even raise a trace of jealousy in his heart. Sister. Just as he shouted with a cold expression, Yu Xingqi had already dashed in front of Luo Qingtong and jumped into her arms. Sister, you're finally here. This sinister fellow bullied brother and me. You've got to vent Yu. Yu Xingqi was overjoyed. She didn't expect Luo Qingtong and the others to arrive so quickly. Yu came. It took Yu Tianqing a while to find them. Yu Xingqi's words sounded, Yu Tiancheng's heart was like a drum, thumping violently. Sister. He looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. Suddenly he remembered what Yu Xingqi said. Let me tell you, evil Dr. Gui Tong is my sister, Yi Jiu is my brother, Blackfield Ming Zun is my brother-in-law. Evil Dr. Gui Tong. This young lady was evil Dr. Gui Tong. Chapter 1766. Yu Tiancheng's gaze moved from Luo Qingtong to Yi Qianxian, looking at the two of them holding hands. In an instant, his vision darkened. The other party was Blackfield Ming Zun. That was Blackfield Ming Zun. Just then, Yu Sihuang's cold snort sounded. Your son is here, why aren't you welcoming him? Son. Yu Tianqing suddenly recalled the words he said just now, and his brain instantly exploded with a buzzing sound. Bang! He turned to run. However, just as he moved, Yi Qianxian waved his sleeve. Boom! An extremely violent and overbearing aura swept out from Yi Qianxian's sleeve, and instantly swept past where Yu Tianqing was. His figure had just disappeared from where he stood, leaving only a faint shadow behind. His movements were so fast, it was obvious that he had already used his trump card and forbidden technique. However, even so, the aura that Yi Qianxian blasted out still chased after the place where he disappeared. Boom! Yu Tiancheng's figure fell out from the void on the other side, and his entire body was split into two. His corpse fell on the ground, and blood rained down from the sky. Until the moment of his death, his eyes were wide open, filled with disbelief. He never thought that he had already escaped into the void, but Yi Qianxian's attack could still chase after him and kill him. What kind of terrifying strength was this? In front of the other party, he couldn't escape at all. Blackfield Mingzun's strength was actually so strong. Furthermore, wasn't he at odds with Yu Sihuang? He even gave the order to chase after him. He didn't let him enter East Region. Even if evil Dr. Gui Tong recognized Yu Xingqi as his sister, he wouldn't personally come to South Region to help Yu Sihuang. What was going on? Yu Tianqing died with his eyes wide open. As for Yu Sihuang, seeing this scene of Yi Qianxian killing Yu Tianqing, he instantly snorted and muttered, showing off. If it wasn't for his lack of strength, he could also do it. What was this man showing off? Yu Sihuang looked at Yi Qianxian's action of hugging Luo Qingtong unhappily. This feeling of being saved by his love rival when he was at his lowest point, and being shown off. Damn it, so angry. Yu Sihuang's face was gloomy. If Luo Qingtong wanted to come, so be it. He could accept a beauty saving a hero. When necessary, he could even vomit blood, to win the sympathy of the beauty, and enjoy her gentle care and whatnot. In the end, Yi Qianren was here too. What was going on? Hurry and leave. After watching this joke, quickly get lost. Yu stared at Yi Qianxian. After Yu Tianqian's lips, Tianchang said, Yi Qianqian's SS, Yi Chiosis. Weak chicken. Yi Qianqian's voice was cold. His expression didn't change much, and his eyes didn't fluctuate. However, Yu Sihuang felt a deep sense of disdain from his body. Fuck. The veins on his forehead almost popped out. This man, who did he say was a weak chicken? Yu Sihuang rolled up his sleeves and wanted to rush up and fight Yi Qianxian. Why was this man bullying him when his strength wasn't there? If he had the ability, then he should have the same strength as him. Let's see who's weak. AI, brother. Chapter 1767. He definitely couldn't let him fight with Mingzun. Otherwise, based on his stupid brother's current situation where he didn't have any strength, it would be strange if he didn't get abused until he started doubting his life. Brother. At that time, you'll lose even more face in front of sister. Yu Xingqi felt that he was worried to death for his stupid brother. And Luo Qingtong was looking at the man beside her with a funny face. This man was really getting more and more childish. Why did he purposely provoke Yu Sihuang? Yi Qianxian looked at her gaze, snorted coldly and didn't say anything. Just now when Yu Sihuang said he was Yu Tiancheng's son, he heard it clearly. And the surrounding imperial sect people were already dumbfounded. When Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian appeared, their figures were suppressed to the ground. Now seeing Yu Tianqing die in Yi Qianxian's hands, and it was an instant kill without any effort, everyone's hearts were indescribably shocked, their figures were also trembling violently. They continuously kowtowed on the ground and begged for mercy. At this moment, all the people who supported Yu Tianqing when he rebelled were filled with regret in their hearts. If they knew that Yu Sihuang and Yu Xingqi were familiar with Blackfield, Mingzun and evil Dr. Gui Tong, they wouldn't cooperate with Yu Tiancheng's action of seizing power, not to mention taking the initiative to change sides, following him to deal with Yu Sihuang and Yu Xingqi's siblings. So what if Yu Sihuang wasn't the previous sect master's son? He was the appointed successor of imperial sect, and Yu Xingqi didn't mind that he wasn't his parents' blood. What did they have to care about? To put it bluntly, they were just finding a good excuse for them to change sides. At that time, Yu Tiancheng's strength was tyrannical, and they suffered heavy losses in the southern region's spiritual energy turbulence. They just didn't want to risk their lives to fight against Yu Tiancheng. So they found an excuse to change sides. At this time, they were regretting so much that their intestines turned green. Yu Huang's eyes were cold as he looked at these people. His demonic face was filled with a chilling aura. You can all commit suicide. Being forced by Yu Tiancheng, for the sake of his own life, he could only rely on the other party. This didn't matter. However, following the other party to hunt him down was an unforgivable sin. Since they wanted to kill her like Yu Tiancheng, then he wouldn't be courteous to them. Hearing this, the hearts of the people from the imperial sect turned to ashes. They looked at Yu Huang's resolute and cold expression, and finally had no choice but to commit suicide. After tidying up a group of people who came to kill him, Yu Huang coldly snorted and looked at Yi Qianxian who was beside Luo Qingtong. He automatically ignored him and said to Luo Qingtong, "Tong Tong, thank you for saving me." Before he could finish his sentence, an attack suddenly blasted towards him with a bang. Yu Huang's figure suddenly flashed to the side. On his devilishly charming and enchanting face, before the charming smile could even be seen, he was cursing and gnashing his teeth. "Yi Qianxian, you lunatic, what are you doing? Why don't you try calling her Tong Tong again?" Yi Qianxian's eyes were cold. When he wasn't by Luo Qingtong's side, this was how this man called her. Yi Qianxian felt that there was a ball of anger in his heart, burning fiercely. *CK, Yu Huang wanted to fight him with his life. Chapter 1768. He raised his hand and pointed at Yi Qianren, his face filled with sadness. "To think that I, the king of the southern mountain range, because I don't have the strength, I was despised." Yu Huang gritted his teeth. "Yi Qianxian, you better remember this. Wait until I recover my strength." "Tong Tong, all right." Luo Qingtong looked at him, her lips twitching. This world owes him an award. This performance was so good that it was both singing and acting. Luo Qingtong finally knew where Yu Xingqi's black-bellied demonic girl personality came from. Were they really not biological siblings? However, Yu Huang's strength was not as strong as when he saved her in the Saint King's tomb. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and pulled Yi Qianxian's sleeve, stopping him from releasing his aura. "Qianren." Yi Qianxian snorted, but did not make a move. He looked at Yu Huang with cold eyes. He did not know how this man had the face to say that. Where was his face as the king of the southern mountain range? Humph. Yu Huang also coldly snorted and confronted him. The king of the southern mountain range's face. When this guy bullied someone like him who did not have the strength, did he not have the face of the Blackfield's underworld? He still had the nerve to look down on him. The two people's eyes collided in mid-air, almost making a solid crackling sound. When Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others sensed the situation and rushed over, this was the horrifying scene they saw. Their master and the king of the southern mountain range were facing each other, but they did not fight. Everyone was indescribably shocked. Especially Bei Qing and Feng Yu, they looked at their master with indescribable wonder and shock. With their master's personality, it was a miracle that he did not attack the king of the southern mountain range. They originally thought that after Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian saved the Yu siblings, Yi Qianxian and Yu Huang would fight. After all, the king of the southern region had a personality that was hard to explain. Furthermore, he obviously coveted the evil doctor. They had originally thought that Yi Qianxian would not be able to tolerate it. Who would have thought that master, he actually didn't make a move. While everyone was thinking, Yu Huang was already looking at them with an unhappy face. "What are you looking at? Haven't you seen a handsome man like me?" Yu Huang was very unhappy with Yi Qianxian's underlings. Especially Bei Qing and Feng Yu. It was these two people who had told their subordinates that Luo Qingtong liked that vulgar and flamboyant dancer style. He had been thoroughly despised by Luo Qingtong in the far west wilderness. Not only that, but he was also treated as a sissy and had to pretend to be a woman for a long time. It was all because of these two people. Otherwise, he might have a chance to win Luo Qingtong's heart. How would Yi Qianxian have the chance to show off in front of him? Yu Sihuang's heart was filled with anger as he thought about it. As for Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others, their faces twitched when they heard his words. No, Bei Qing was a careless and straightforward boy. The moment he heard Yu Sihuang's words, he subconsciously replied, "My master is much more handsome than you." Oh. Before he could finish his words, Feng Yu, who was beside him, covered his mouth. The latter's lips twitched. Oh my, Bei Qing, this silly dog. Master hates it when people talk about his appearance, don't you? He actually dared to hit the muzzle of the gun. Feng Yu wanted to apologize together with Bei Qing. Chapter 1769. Their master wasn't angry at all. The two of them looked like they were struck by lightning as they looked at Yi Qianming's slightly curved lips under the mask. Their master's mood seemed to be quite good. Yi Qianming was indeed in a good mood. He looked at Yu Sihuang's dark expression and for the first time, he felt that Bei Qing's mouth was not bad. He was in a good mood, but Yu Sihuang was in a bad mood. He pointed at Bei Qing and the others and was speechless for a long time. Damn it, these people were really Yi Qianming's subordinates. They were really hateful and annoying. The veins on his forehead popped. If it wasn't for Yu Xingqi holding him back, he would have rushed up again. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched as she watched them bicker. Seeing that the two sides were about to clash again, she quickly held her forehead and changed the topic. All right, let's go back first. Yu Sihuang. She looked at the evil man opposite her. The matter of your imperial sect is still waiting for you to go back and deal with it. We didn't touch any of those who betrayed you. Hearing this, Yu Sihuang's expression changed slightly. He didn't expect Luo Qingtong to be so considerate. She actually kept all those people, waiting for him to go back and deal with them. All right. He nodded at Luo Qingtong with a cold expression. Let's go. Thinking of the matter of the imperial sect, Yu Sihuang didn't have time to argue with Yi Qianming. He still had a lot of confidence outside. These people couldn't rush back to the imperial sect because of the chaos in the southern mountain range. Once those traitors in the imperial sect confirmed his death, they would definitely make a move on them. He had to hurry back and clean up the imperial sect. Those who rebelled behind Yu Tianqing and wanted to kill him, he wouldn't let a single one of them go. Yu Sihuang's eyes were cold. He turned around and prepared to leave with Luo Qingtong and the others. However, at this moment, boom. Behind them, there was a huge pit on the cliff and a powerful aura of heaven and earth suddenly erupted. The aura was very powerful. Then, countless black fog gushed out from it. In the next second, with a bang, an incomparably huge tentacle swept out from within, and attacked Yu Xingqi who was closest to the cliff. The latter was scolding the little white cat in her arms as she walked. Dudu, you gluttonous ghost, if you are so greedy next time, I will punish you severely. I'll make you into a cat meat hot pot. Let's see how you'll eat then. As Yu Xingqi spoke, he twisted the little white cat's ear. The latter meowed as if it was repenting or trying to explain something. While the human and cat were talking, the tentacle had already attacked her from behind. Xingqi. Yu Sihuang heard the commotion and turned his head. Seeing this scene, his eyes shrunk in an instant. He fiercely pounced on Yu Xingqi, and with a bang, he pushed her away. Brother. Yu Xingqi's figure and the little white cat heavily fell to the ground together. She raised her head and saw that Yu Si Huang was wrapped around by that huge tentacle and then pulled into the cliff. She immediately cried out anxiously. She climbed up and hurriedly chased forward. At this moment, an extremely fierce and tyrannical attack passed by her and chased after that tentacle. Chapter 1770. Bang! At the bottom of the cliff, the sound of a violent collision could be heard. In the next second, an extremely miserable and sharp voice came from the bottom of the cliff. "Let's go." Yi Qianqian's eyes were cold as he and Luo Qingtong rushed towards the cliff in an instant. Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others followed closely behind with Yu Xingqi and the little white cat. The latter sat on the little white cat that had grown bigger again with a pale face. "Brother." Yu Xingqi hated herself for being so careless just now and not paying attention to the movements behind her. Otherwise, if she had dodged the moment the accident happened, her brother wouldn't have gotten into trouble because of saving her. One had to know that Yu Si Huang was still injured and couldn't use his strength. Thinking of this, Yu Xingqi's little face became even paler. The two-faced little witch who was usually fearless was so scared that tears were about to come out. Swoosh! Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian were very fast. In just an instant, they appeared at the bottom of the cliff. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth here was very violent. The lower they went, the more violent the fluctuations of the aura became. Wave after wave of spiritual energy of heaven and earth intertwined into a ball, forming huge vortexes at the bottom of the cliff. The fluctuations of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth that were emitted were as sharp as knives. If someone who wasn't strong enough got close, they would be cut into pieces by these violent auras. The huge changes in the southern region came from this. The formation of these spiritual energy balls didn't have any pattern. They gathered and scattered, making it impossible to guard against. However, the spiritual energy outside had already calmed down. Those spiritual energy balls were also gradually disappearing. She didn't expect that there would be so many at the bottom of the cliff. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. The bloody light in her eyes flickered violently as she constantly scanned the bottom of the cliff. Soon, she found the traces of Yu Si Huang and the tentacle from the constantly stirring spiritual energy of heaven and earth. "Qianren, over there." Luo Qingtong suddenly raised her hand and pointed to the left. Boom! Yi Qianxian leaped up and headed in the direction she had mentioned. The incomparably terrifying and rioting spiritual qi in the surroundings was no obstacle to him at all. Bang bang bang! Yi Qianxian didn't even need to wait for Luo Qingtong's warning. He directly rushed to the place that Luo Qingtong had mentioned. Along the way, Yi Qianxian's body couldn't even touch the terrifying spiritual energy balls that were constantly stirring and colliding with each other. They were shattered by the aura that lingered around his body. Bang! The moment Yi Qianren's figure appeared, the giant tentacles that were dancing in the air attacked him violently. The gigantic tentacles that filled the sky intersected like a net. Their killing intent was biting cold, and they covered the sky and earth. Boom! Yi Qianxian didn't even look at the tentacles. The aura around him shook violently in an instant. In an instant, a terrifying aura that was as vast as the arrival of the sun and the moon, and the collapse of heaven and earth, swept out from his body. In an instant, those huge tentacles that were violently attacking him were shattered into powder. When Yi Qianxian made his move, Luo Qingtong's life and death sword also appeared in her hand. Bloody cross slash. As she shouted, a bloody cross sword light swept out in an instant and blasted the back of the tentacles that were blocking the sky and earth. Chapter 1771. Cough, cough, cough. Yu Si Huang coughed violently and was picked out by Luo Qingtong's sword from that thing. His whole body was covered in that kind of green mucus, mixed with blood and a fishy smell, making him want to vomit. What the hell is this? He looked at the huge monster below him that was screaming miserably. It was indeed a monster. Its body was like a mountain, and its fluffy hair almost covered its whole body. It looked like a tiger or a leopard, but its whole body was covered with octopus-like tentacles. Those tentacles were not covered with smooth skin, but full of scales. They looked as hard as iron and indestructible. However, at this moment, under Yi Qianqian's attack, these tentacles were constantly being cut and eliminated, without any resistance. Boom! When Yu Xihuang's figure was picked out by Luo Qingtong's sword, Yi Qianqian's attack also swept out in an instant. Boom! Like the moon in the sky, like a dragon roaming on the earth. The man's aura became extremely terrifying in an instant. And that ray of light that flew out from his sleeve also instantly killed that huge monster. Rumble! That monster's body was shattered in an instant. Countless blood rain fluttered, directly agitating the surrounding spiritual energy and violently colliding with each other. It made a deafening sound, mixed with the miserable scream of that monster before its death, unceasingly reverberated in this space at the bottom of the cliff. Brother! At this time, Bei Qing and others arrived. Yu Xingqi, who was being carried by them, saw the intact Yu Xihuang standing beside Luo Qingtong and immediately cried and rushed over. Okay, I won't die, don't cry. Are you crying at a funeral? It was very rare to see Yu Xingqi crying like this. Yu Xihuang felt uncomfortable and couldn't help but retort. He still liked to see this little witch's fearless appearance. Bah, who's crying at a funeral? The wind and sand entered my eyes. Yu Xingqi spat at him with red eyes, his teeth itching. This stupid brother just couldn't treat him well. He deserved to be beaten to death. Do you think I'll be sad if you die? I will set off 180 strings of firecrackers to celebrate. You're dead, Yu Tianqing is also dead. I can inherit the imperial sect and become the queen of the southern region. Hey, that's too much. Yu Xihuang glared at her. Even if I die, it won't be your turn to be the queen of the southern region. Humph, who said I can't? I have an older sister. Yu Xingqi put his hands on his waist and said to him, hurry up and find another monster to eat you. Otherwise, I'll have to wait for you to die. A woman's heart is the most poisonous. Yu Xingqi, be careful that you won't be able to get married in the future. Just as Yu Xihuang was speaking, Yu Xingqi directly turned around and said to Luo Qingtong, sister, he's cursing you. What the F***ck? Yu Xihuang looked at Yu Xingqi's white and tender finger pointing at him. That firm and unwavering finger, he cursed in his heart. This little witch, she's ruthless. While the two siblings were arguing with each other, Luo Qingtong found something inside the monster's body. What is this? She looked at the silver-white object among the flesh and blood. She raised her hand and took it into her hand. Chapter 1772. Luo Qingtong looked at the grain-sized silver-white crystal, feeling very strange. The appearance of the crystal was very beautiful. Although the hexagonal shape was very irregular, it was crystal clear. In this dusky space at the bottom of the cliff, it was very conspicuous. If a metaphor had to be used to describe it, it would be like a diamond. In Luo Qingtong's hand, it shined with a faint light. The crystal contained an extremely powerful strength. Luo Qingtong carefully felt it and found that it was vaguely similar to the strength emitted from the monster's body. Was this the power crystal condensed from the monster's body? Luo Qingtong knew that there were some powerful and special monster beasts that would condense a kind of power crystal within their body. This was the source of their strength, and it was also a very nutritious thing. After a cultivator obtained it, they would be able to enhance their strength for a short period of time, allowing their strength to increase. After all, these power crystals were the essence of the monster beast's strength that had been accumulated over countless years. Although its effect was inferior to that of the Saint Realm Flower or the Wood Spirit Heart that Luo Qingtong had obtained before, it was enough to allow a cultivator to obtain a great increase in their strength. For someone like Yu Huang, who had used a forbidden technique to stimulate his potential and temporarily lost his strength, with the help of these power crystals, he would be able to recover as soon as possible. These power crystals could help a cultivator repair their damaged dantian and the source of their strength. But such power crystals were very rare. Out of 100,000 monster beasts, there might not even be one that could condense. This was something that depended on one's luck. And a monster beast that could condense this kind of power crystal was far more tyrannical than an ordinary monster beast. Luo Qingtong looked at the silver-white crystal in her hand. She didn't know whether this was the power crystal or not. Moreover, the strength of the monster just now was also very strange. It was actually at the Saint Master Realm. It had to be known that there were monster beasts at the Saint Realm and above in the true Spill continent. But almost all of them were concentrated in the far western wilderness. That was the monster beast's paradise. But even in the far western wilderness, there weren't many monster beasts at the Saint Realm and above. The demonic beasts and sea monsters in the other 3 domains were already very powerful if they could surpass the Saint Realm. There were almost no demonic beasts above the Saint Realm. Not to mention the size of the monster just now. Among demonic beasts, the larger their body size, the harder it was to increase their strength. Because it required too much power. Of course, at the same level of strength, the bigger the body, the more powerful it was. This monster's body was so large, yet it actually reached the sacred expert level, moreover condensing this type of extremely rare power crystal within its body. It was strange no matter how one looked at it. Was there really such a coincidence in this world? Furthermore, at the bottom of the cliff, it was obvious that the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was extremely violent. If Luo Qingtong didn't guess wrong, this might have something to do with the spiritual qi riot in the Southern Territory. The appearance of this monster was probably not a coincidence. Luo Qingtong was lost in thought when suddenly, meow. Chapter 1773. Dudu. Seeing the little white cat swallow the crystal in Luo Qingtong's hand, Yu Xingqi wanted to hit it in an instant. This gluttonous guy, when will it be able to get rid of this bad habit? She raised her hand and was about to twist its ear. You, quickly spit out the thing, that's big sister's. Otherwise, I'll hit you. While she was talking, Luo Qingtong's eyes suddenly changed. Through her eye technique, she discovered that the little white cat's body had undergone a very shocking change. Stop her! Luo Qingtong's voice sounded. At the same time, the sword in her hand swept out in an instant, slashing towards the little white cat in front of her. Big sister. Seeing this scene, Yu Xingqi's face turned pale. Although Dudu was a glutton, it was her very important companion. When Yu Xingqi was young, she experienced danger several times. It was Dudu who accompanied her and saved her. Not only that, it was the only thing her parents gave her. Big sister, don't. Just when Yu Xingqi was struggling desperately to rush over, roar. An extremely violent voice that contained countless violent emotions and murderous aura rang out. Then, in front of everyone, the little white cat that swallowed the crystal in Luo Qingtong's hand grew bigger in an instant. In an instant, its body size returned to its previous appearance when it was carrying Yu Xingqi and Yu Huang, and then it continued to grow bigger. Its limbs began to grow irregularly. Bang bang bang. Amidst its sharp and mournful screams, its body swelled violently, and then wounds began to burst out from all parts of its body. Then, grotesquely shaped things that looked like crab's pincers grew out of its body. In just an instant, the little white cat turned into something similar to the monster from before. The aura around its body continued to grow stronger. At the same time, the mournful roar in its mouth became sharper and sharper. Obviously, this change was very painful for him. Not only that, but after the little white cat transformed, its fur and pincers attacked Luo Qingtong and the others. Its eyes were blood red, and it was obvious that it was unable to control itself. Do. Seeing this scene, Yu Xingqi finally understood why Luo Qingtong wanted to stop her and why she wanted to attack the little white cat. Bang! The sword light in Luo Qingtong's hand struck the little white cat. In an instant, the monster-like little white cat was blasted away by her. Boom boom boom. The white cat's body flipped a few times in midair. Before it could stand up, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded again. Qian Ren, restrain it. The little white cat was Yu Xingqi's pet. Luo Qingtong naturally wouldn't kill it like how she dealt with the monster before. In fact, if it weren't for Luo Qingtong deliberately holding back her strength, the little white cat would have been killed by her sword just now. After all, with Luo Qingtong's true strength at this moment, the little white cat who had just improved its strength was not her opponent at all. Even the monster from before, if Yi Qianming didn't make a move, Luo Qingtong could deal with it alone. Swish! Yi Qianxian waved his sleeve and restrained the little white cat. Chapter 1774. There, a silver-white crystal was constantly rotating, emitting waves of power. Those waves of power merged into the little white cat's body, turning it into its current state. It turned out that the monster from before also became like this. Luo Qingtong thought so. The life and death yin-yang sword in her hand instantly swept out and stabbed the silver-white crystal, picking it out with a bang. Roar! After the crystal was picked out of its body, the little white cat immediately fell to the ground. Its body size rapidly shrank, and soon, it returned to the size of a palm. Meow! It raised its head weakly and called out to Yu Xingqi. When the latter returned to its normal size, he had already covered his mouth and rushed up with tears in his eyes. Seeing it like this, he immediately raised his hand and slapped it fiercely. Bastard! I told you long ago not to be so greedy. But you didn't listen. Look at you now. You almost ate yourself to death, didn't you? As Yu Xingqi said this, he cried and fell in front of the little white cat, hugging it tightly. You stinky dog, you scared me to death. You scared me to death. Yu Xingqi cried sadly, but Luo Qingtong had already taken the silver-white crystal in her hand. Compared to before, this silver-white crystal had shrunk a lot. Obviously, the reduced size was transformed into energy that was absorbed by the little white cat. That was why it turned into that monster-like appearance just now. Luo Qingtong walked in front of the little white cat. The latter was gently licking Yu Xingqi and comforting him. Sensing Luo Qingtong's approach, or rather, sensing the aura of the crystal, it suddenly raised its head and stared at the silver-white crystal in Luo Qingtong's hand. It could be seen that if it wasn't for the fact that it was injured and couldn't move, it would have jumped up and rushed towards the silver-white crystal again. You're still looking. Haven't you suffered enough just now? Yu Xingqi looked at its appearance and instantly became angry. He raised his hand and twisted its ear. However, even if it was being pulled by Luo Qingtong until it meowed, the little white cat's gaze was still unable to move away from Luo Qingtong's hands. It had just gone through a painful torture, so it was impossible for it not to know the dangers of this crystal. The only explanation was that it couldn't resist the temptation of the crystal. This thing is very attractive to it. Yu Sihuang came to Luo Qingtong's side at this time. He looked at the silver-white crystal in Luo Qingtong's hand with a grave expression. What exactly was this crystal? To actually be able to turn a demonic beast into such a state. However, the power contained within it was indeed astonishing. If it wasn't for the fact that the consequence of consuming these powers was to turn into a monster and lose their rationality, this was definitely a good thing, a great tonic. Could the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in the southern region be related to this crystal? Luo Qingtong's thoughts were similar to his. She looked at the crystal in her hand. Under the light of her pupil technique, the power of this crystal showed a dark gray color. It was unknown how many impurities were entangled in it, making the power of this crystal look very turbid. Otherwise, by relying on the power of this crystal, her strength could increase again. Chapter 1775. With that in mind, Luo Qingtong prepared to put the crystal away. She would study how to remove these impurities when she returned to the imperial city. However, just as her hand touched her useless ring, with a swoosh, a small leaf rolled out and wrapped around the crystal in her hand. Luo Qingtong was shocked. She looked down at the small leaf. It was clearly the leaf of the ancient heavenly spirit tree. While she was still in shock, she saw the leaf of the ancient heavenly spirit tree wrap around the crystal, and instantly, streaks of silver-gray aura were sucked out of the crystal and swept into the ancient heavenly spirit tree's young leaf. Swoosh! The ancient heavenly spirit tree's leaf became even more verdant. After absorbing the silver-gray aura, the entire leaf seemed to be extremely nourished and watered. As the ancient heavenly spirit tree absorbed the aura, the crystal's silver-white luster instantly receded. The entire crystal became crystal clear in an instant. It looked like an extremely beautiful glass bead. An extremely dense energy that made people feel relaxed and happy was being emitted from it. This power was different from the one Luo Qingtong felt from the crystal. It seemed to have been completely reborn. Smack! The crystal fell back into Luo Qingtong's hand. The leaf of the ancient heavenly spirit tree had already retreated after absorbing the silver-gray aura. Has it been purified? Luo Qingtong looked at the crystal in her hand in surprise. The latter's appearance and aura were completely different from before. At this moment, a hand reached out from beside her and took the crystal. The power inside can be absorbed now. Yi Qianqian's aura circled around the crystal. Then, he handed it back to Luo Qingtong. The power inside is very suitable for experts above the Saint Realm to absorb. I'm afraid this crystal is not an ordinary item. Yi Qianren could feel an extremely pure aura of power within it. He didn't pay much attention to this aura before it was contaminated by the impurities. Now that the impurities were removed, he immediately sensed the difference. This was not the ordinary spiritual aura of heaven and earth, but the higher level of immortal spiritual aura. It was only found in the outer realm. It was the main spiritual aura for experts above the venerable realm to cultivate. At their level, ordinary spiritual aura of heaven and earth could no longer satisfy their cultivation needs. They had to absorb immortal spiritual aura. However, ordinary immortal spiritual aura could not be absorbed by experts below the venerable realm. Unless the other party's continent was very high level and had immortal spiritual aura itself. In this way, cultivators below that level would be able to absorb the immortal chi and rapidly increase their strength. The true Spill continent where Luo Qingtong was located was a low-level continent. Had no immortal spiritual aura at all. Even if Yi Qianxian gave her immortal spiritual aura, she would not be able to absorb it. But now, the immortal spiritual aura in this crystal carried the aura of the true Spill continent. It could be absorbed by Luo Qingtong. This was strange. As Yi Qianxian was thinking, Yu Sihuang's voice suddenly sounded. Chapter 1776. Immortal Jade Bone. It's an immortal jade bone. Immortal jade bone. What's that? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at him. Immortal jade bone is the condensation of the aura essence of the fallen immortal land in the hidden world. Yu Sihuang was afraid that Luo Qingtong didn't know about the fallen immortal land, so he immediately explained, it is said that there was a great war in the true Spill continent in the hidden world. I don't know the specific reason, but at that time, many powerhouses from outside the domain joined in. After they died, their aura condensed and did not dissipate, forming a very special place in the hidden world. That is the fallen immortal land. There are many good things inside, but at the same time, it is also very dangerous. The aura inside has a corrosive effect on people and beasts. If you stay there for a long time, you will become a walking corpse and finally die inside. The only thing that can counteract this aura is the immortal jade bone condensed from the essence of their aura. Yu Si Huang looked at the transparent crystal in Luo Qingtong's hand as he spoke. No wonder the spiritual energy of the southern domain is so violent. It should be because of the appearance of this immortal jade bone. In the hidden world, the fallen immortal land's aura will fluctuate violently every year. At that time, immortal jade bones will be thrown out and scattered all over the hidden world. If you obtain these immortal jade bones, you will be able to enter the fallen immortal land and explore when its aura is weak. I didn't expect that the fallen immortal land's eruption would cause these immortal jade bones to appear in the southern domain. It's strange. Yu Si Huang didn't think of the immortal jade bones before. After all, the immortal jade bones had always erupted in the hidden world and had never appeared in other places. He had only heard of the immortal jade bones, but he had never seen them before. The reason why he thought of the immortal jade bones was because Yi Qianxian said that the power inside was very suitable for Sage Realm powerhouses to absorb. Such a thing, in addition to the spiritual energy of the southern domain before, made Yu Si Huang think of the immortal jade bones. So that's how it is. Luo Qingtong's eyes lit up. No wonder the ancient heavenly spirit could purify this crystal. If the other party had immortal jade bones, then it wouldn't be surprising. After all, the ancient heavenly spirit fed on Yin's souls and death aura. The silver-gray aura that was absorbed from the crystal was the immortal jade bones of the powerhouses who died in the fallen immortal land, right? It condensed together, it formed a thing that was tightly connected with the essence of those aura. Once it was absorbed into the body's body, it would immediately be controlled by the remnant soul's resentment, causing one would lose their sanity. Not only that, but if a large amount of death energy and resentment entered the body, it would also mutate a person into a monster-like existence. Luo Qingtong immediately knew what was going on between the white cat and that monster. However, the death chi was completely absorbed by the ancient heavenly spiritual wood. As Luo Qingtong thought about it, her lips curled up. Immortal jade bones. This was a good thing. Not only would Luo Qingtong not have to worry about going to the fallen immortal land in the future, but she could also use the power inside to improve herself. Moreover, the ancient heavenly spirit could also grow greatly. After all, that was a primordial divine tree. Chapter 1777. Let's go, let's look around and see if there are any other immortal jade bones. Luo Qingtong said as she walked outside. As it turned out, there were many more. Luo Qingtong, Yi Qianxian, and the others strolled around the bottom of the cliff and found that this was a huge pit. The space of the cliff was very large, it was unknown how many li it spanned. The group walked around for a while and killed several monsters that had mutated because they swallowed the immortal jade bones. Most of these monsters were at the Saint Realm and Saint Realm, none of them were lower than the Saint Realm. After Luo Qingtong killed them, she took out the immortal jade bones from their bodies and found that the quality of these immortal jade bones was different. The stronger the monster, the higher the quality of the immortal jade bones. These immortal jade bones were extremely tempting to monsters. Almost every time an immortal jade bone came out, Yu Xingqi desperately hugged the fluttering little white cat in his arms to prevent it from recklessly rushing towards the immortal jade bones. Every time Luo Qingtong obtained an immortal jade bone, she would let the ancient heavenly spirit absorb the death energy and resentment within. After absorbing these, the color of the ancient heavenly spirit became more verdant and its figure became more tall and straight. After Luo Qingtong let it absorb the death energy of several immortal jade bones, she found that it quietly grew a little taller. At the same time, on the branch, a small green dot protruded. It was obvious that another leaf was about to grow. Seeing this, Luo Qingtong was very happy. The leaves of this ancient heavenly spirit wood were very useful to her. Being able to activate the soul seal talent, this was simply too great. Luo Qingtong naturally wanted it to grow more leaves. And Yu Huang also recovered his strength from the immortal jade bones after a series of kills by Luo Qingtong. After all, the aura of this immortal jade bone was a higher level of immortal spiritual energy. It could completely heal the injuries caused by the stimulation of his body before. Not only that, it also healed some of the hidden dangers in his body. Tong Tong, let's go back to Imperial City first. He suggested, the space at the bottom of the cliff is very large, we can't explore it in a short time. If I'm not wrong, this should be the source of the spiritual energy turbulence in the southern region. It's also the place where the immortal jade bones erupted and scattered. Let's go back to Imperial City first, I'll settle the matter of the Imperial sect. When the time comes, send people to surround this place, we can't let these monsters run out. The space at the bottom of the cliff was not sealed. Once those monsters who ate the immortal jade bones ran out, it would be difficult to find them. Furthermore, Yu Huang was also worried about the Imperial sect. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded. She wanted to search the bottom of the cliff was the number of the immortal jade bones. From the looks of it, she was still very satisfied. Thus, the immortals very clearly, the quality of the immortal jade bones here was too low for her. That was indeed the case. The monsters that would wander around the edge of the cliff were all relatively weak. The powerful monsters were all in the center, fighting each other to seize the immortal jade bones in their bodies. Only those who were too weak would go to the edge to avoid those powerful monsters. Let's go, we'll go back first. Chapter 1778. She would first settle the matter of the Imperial sect before continuing to explore the space at the bottom of the cliff. Moreover, even though her strength hadn't improved completely, she'd improved from a beginner saint to a low-level saint. Luo Qingtong was prepared to go back and consolidate her strength. Moreover, Yu Huang's words were reasonable. The space at the bottom of the cliff must be surrounded to prevent those monsters from escaping and wasting those immortal jade bones. One must know that one could never have too many of these things. Luo Qingtong could not use the immortal jade bones outside, but she could give them to the people around her. Old Man Luo, Empress Dowager Yan Shik, Su Yu, Su Xiaoxiao, Tian Xia, and the others, which one of them did not need to increase their strength? Not to mention, the immortal jade bones were extremely beneficial to the growth of the ancient heavenly spiritual wood. Luo Qingtong could not let go of this opportunity. Using the people of the Imperial sect to surround this place would not attract attention. After all, this was their territory. They just needed to make up an excuse. If Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian were to transfer people here, it would attract attention. This immortal jade bone was something that many people coveted in the hidden world. Luo Qingtong did not want to complicate matters. Swish! The group of people rushed out of the cliff and headed towards the Imperial sect. In the Imperial sect, a group of people were hung up high. Wu Tianyun, you betrayed the sect master. You will die a horrible death. Luo Li was hung at the front. He looked at the people who betrayed Yu Huang in front of him with resentment. When he received the news of the incident at the Imperial sect, he immediately rushed back from outside. However, he did not expect that the people of the Imperial sect betrayed Yu Huang and turned to Yu Tianqing. When Luo Li and the others came back, they were surrounded and captured. Not only that, they also found out from the mouths of these people that Yu Huang and Yu Xingqi were chased by Yu Tianqing. They were most likely dead. When everyone thought of this, they suddenly felt a burst of sorrow. They cursed at Wu Tianyun and the others. These people were all promoted by Yu Sihuang. To be able to have his current strength and status, it was all because of Yu Sihuang. In the end, the latter was heavily injured and temporarily lost his strength. Coincidentally, the southern region was in turmoil and Yu Tianqing made things difficult for them. Thus, they completely sold Yu Sihuang out. Truly cruel and unscrupulous, worse than pigs and dogs. Humph, die a horrible death. Are you talking about yourselves and Yu Sihuang? Don't worry, he is indeed going to die a horrible death. And you guys, too. Wu Tianyun and the others sneered. They didn't care about Luo Li's words at all. Yu Sihuang was chased away by Yu Tianqing, he definitely wouldn't survive. Who was going to make them die a horrible death? Are they? What a joke. Ha! Wu Tianyun and the others burst into laughter as they thought of this. Don't worry, we'll send you to him soon. Their faces were gloomy. When the time comes, remember to send our greetings to the sect leader. Ask him if he was comfortable down there and if he died miserably. Ha! The crowd laughed even louder as they spoke. Just as Luo Li and the rest were enraged and struggling with all their might, a cold voice rang out. Why don't you ask me yourself? As this voice rang out, the laughter of Wu Tianyun and the others seemed to have been paused. They turned their heads around mechanically. Chapter 1779. Their expression was as if they were in a dream. Luo Li and the others also looked at the direction where the voice came from with excitement. Sect Master. At the entrance of Imperial Sect, Yu Sihuang was wearing a purple robe. His devilish face was filled with a murderous aura. He raised his hand and stroked the mole at the corner of his eye. Looking at the shocked Wu Tianyun and the others, he was as charming as a demon. Not bad, you still miss me so much. Indeed, I have trained you for so long. Yu Sihuang said as he smiled towards them. That extremely enchanting face was even more soul-stirring. However, I am unable to answer your two questions. How about this, I will send you down to see Yu Tianqing. Maybe he can answer you, You. Impossible. Wu Tianyun and the others looked at Yu Sihuang's direction in panic. How is this possible? Yu Sihuang did not die. But soon, they calmed down again. Sect Master, I never thought you could escape from Yu Tianqing's hands. It must have been very hard, right? The group sneered at the wounds on Yu Sihuang's body and the damage on his clothes. Naturally, these were the wounds that the latter accidentally touched when he was killing those monsters. Because they were not serious, he was too lazy to deal with them. At this moment, these wounds and the damage on his clothes were taken by Wu Tianyun and the others as the evidence of Yu Sihuang escaping from Yu Tianqing's hands. They immediately calmed down. Sect Master, the feeling of being chased is not good, right? The group had a mocking smile on their faces. Without strength, so what if Yu Sihuang escaped from Yu Tianqing's hands? He still wanted to send them to see Yu Tianqing. What a joke. Send them with what? With his mouth. Did Yu Sihuang think that he was still the imperial sect master that everyone would follow his words? The group had a mocking expression on their faces. But sect master, it's good that you are back. We are about to send Luo Li and the others on their way. Let's send you up too. As they spoke, they waved their hands. Men, come and catch him. Looking at those people rushing over, before Yu Sihuang could say anything, a burst of laughter suddenly came from behind him. Ha! Stupid brother, you still want to act cool. Now you've embarrassed yourself, haven't you? While speaking, Yu Xingqi came out from behind him with the little white cat in his arms. He made a funny face at him, then laughed so hard that his stomach hurt. Yeah. Yu Si Huang's demonic smile did not change, but the words coming out of his mouth were abnormally cold. Had I known earlier, I would have made a move straight away. Bang! As he spoke, he raised his hand and twisted off the head of the imperial family's disciple who was the first to reach him. Then, he stood up and rushed towards Wu Tianyun and the others. The latter and the others were horrified to the extreme. Yu Si Huang's strength has recovered. His strength had actually recovered. Everyone turned around and tried to escape. However, in front of Yu Si Huang who had completely recovered his strength, how could they escape? In just an instant, they were all wiped out. Everyone's eyes were wide open. Even before they died, they still didn't know what was going on. And just as they were about to take their last breaths, suddenly, a panicked voice came from outside. Chapter 1780. Ha! Hearing this, Wu Tianyun held on to his last breath and laughed loudly. Besieged by the sects of the 3 islands and 7 earths. It must be. Yu Si Huang, you're finished. He looked at Yu Si Huang's direction with a ferocious expression. His words were filled with joy and pride. So what if you kill us? The Imperial sect's strength has been greatly reduced. Now that we're dead, the Imperial sect is no different from an empty shell. Ha ha ha. How can you reverse the situation by yourself? The Imperial sect will be destroyed. Yu Si Huang, you'll be buried with us. Ha! His voice was proud and sharp as if he could already see Yu Si Huang and the others dying without a burial place. After all, the other party was the sect master of the Imperial sect and was the most hated person by the sects of the 3 islands and 7 earths. Ha ha ha. His laughter was unusually sharp and ear-piercing. At this moment, a chuckling voice sounded. Really? How about we join in? Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent as she appeared with Yi Qianming and the others. This group of people had arrived with Yu Si Huang long ago. But the latter said that he wanted to solve this matter by himself, so they hid and watched the show. They didn't expect to see such a big show. I didn't expect you to have such a master and servant relationship. Luo Qingtong smiled at Yu Si Huang and said, I didn't expect you to be buried with them. How about it? Do you need us to collect your corpse? When she said this, Yu Xingqi burst out laughing. Yi Qianming and the others also had a faint smile on their faces. Especially Yi Qianming. He gently held Luo Qingtong's hand. He was very happy to see Yu Si Huang suffer this time. Who asked him to act cool? As for Yu Si Huang, his entire face turned green. TSK, his face was filled with grief. Don't stab me in the heart like this. Leave me some face. As for Wu Tianyun and the others, when Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianming appeared, they had already swallowed their breaths in horror. They had already recognized Yi Qianming's identity. The man wore a dark golden robe and a dark golden mask. His aura was like a bottomless abyss. In addition to Yu Si Huang's groaning sound, how could they not know that the 2 people who had appeared were evil Dr. Ghost Eye and Blackfield Ming Zun? With these 2 people here, in addition to the many experts of the Black Field, how could anything happen to the Imperial sect? To think that they were so proud of themselves, thinking that even if Yu Si Huang killed them, they would be buried with them, but now, it seems, it was just a joke. Everyone swallowed their anger unwillingly. Their hearts were filled with unspeakable regret. If they had known earlier that Yu Si Huang and the Blackfield Ming Zun did not have any enmity, not only that, the other party had personally come to rescue him, why would they betray Yu Si Huang? Indeed, one wrong step and everything would be overturned. Everyone was completely dead. As for Yu Si Huang, after ordering Luo Li and the others to clean up the Imperial Gate, he left the Imperial City with Luo Qingtong and the others. Outside the imperial city, a group of sects from the 3 islands and 7 lands gathered, preparing to launch an attack. They had received accurate news that there was a rebellion in the imperial sect and Yu Si Wang's whereabouts were unknown. Not only that, they had also found out that the latter had lost his strength. Everyone was forced to unite because of Yu Si Wang's strength and methods. Chapter 1781. Without Yu Si Wang, what was the imperial sect to them? Not to mention that the imperial sect had suffered heavy losses in the spiritual energy riot in the southern region. That was even less of a reason to be afraid. If they weren't afraid of Yu Si Wang's methods, they would have taken action when the imperial sect suffered heavy losses. Now that the imperial sect was in chaos, it gave them the best opportunity to take action. It was laughable that Yu Tianqing thought that after killing Yu Si Wang and taking over the imperial sect, he would be the overlord of the southern region. It was just a joke. People of the imperial sect, if you immediately open the door and surrender, we might leave you with a complete corpse. Otherwise what? A cold voice sounded at this moment, then a purple figure appeared on the city walls of the imperial sect. Otherwise we will destroy the entire city, not a single one will be left alive. The person from the 3 islands and 7 lands who spoke did not see the scene on the city walls. When he finished speaking, he saw the purple figure standing on the city walls, almost as if he was floating in the air. When that devilishly charming face entered his eyes, his heart instantly palpitated with fear and trepidation. Yu Si Wang. Why would he appear here? Wasn't he chased out of the imperial sect by the internal rebellion, and was being chased by Yu Tianqing and the rest? And his strength, the people from the 3 islands and 7 lands looked at the cold aura around Yu Si Wang, and their eyelids twitched. What was going on? Didn't they say that he lost all his strength, so he was unable to suppress the rebellion in the imperial sect? However, from the looks of it, his strength did not seem to be damaged at all. Everyone was shocked, and Yu Si Wang had already waved his sleeves. The lives of the people of the imperial sect are here. If you have the ability, then come and take it yourselves. As he spoke, the gates of the imperial sect opened with a boom, and it was already wide open, without any defense. Instantly, the people from the 3 islands and 7 lands were in an uproar. Soon, someone shouted loudly. Everyone, don't be fooled by him. Even if Yu Si Wang didn't have anything to do with the rebellion of the imperial sect, the strength of the imperial sect is still very weak. Let's not be scared by him. He's definitely bluffing. Let's charge in together. Otherwise, if the people of the imperial sect recover, the ones who will suffer will be us. As this person spoke, the hearts of the people from the 3 islands and 7 lands trembled. That's right, they had already fought their way here. If they retreated now and waited for Yu Si Wang to restore the imperial sect, then all of them would not be able to bear the consequences. With that thought in mind, everyone drew their weapons and charged towards the imperial city. These people. Yu Si Wang looked at the people from the 3 islands and 7 earths who rushed up and clenched his teeth. Were these people in such a hurry to court death? How could they not know his methods? Without a certain degree of certainty, would he dare to open the city gates? Bluff? Bluff your sister. All right, make your move. He said with a face full of annoyance. If possible, he naturally did not want to owe Yi Chenxian a favor. But at this moment, the people of the imperial sect had just experienced a rebellion. If they were to forcefully attack, who knew how many people would be lost? Chapter 1782. Pfft. His voice sounded. In an instant, Yi Qianxian, Luo Qingtong, and the others appeared beside him. Luo Qingtong had a smile on her face. She couldn't help it. Yi Qianxian looked at him indifferently. Tong, before he could finish his words, Yu Si-wang gritted his teeth and spoke. Okay, I won't call you that anymore. Bastard, in order to prevent him from calling him that, this person really didn't let go of any chance. Yu Si-wang was depressed. When he looked at the people from the 3 islands and 7 earths in front of him, his gaze became even more gloomy. It's all because of these guys. He couldn't call Luo Qingtong, Tong Tong anymore. Kill them all, don't leave a single one alive. His voice was cold. His action of stroking the mole under his eye was full of murderous intent. These people, he gave them a chance to leave, but they didn't want to leave. Since that was the case, then they should all leave their lives here. Boom! As Yu Si-wang's voice sounded, Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others appeared with the people from the black field behind them. They charged towards the people from the 3 islands and 7 earths. Sounds of attack sounded one after another. Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others' auras were like rainbows. This group of people behind Yi Qianxian and Luo Qingtong had extraordinary fighting power. It was almost a face-to-face confrontation. They killed the people from the 3 islands and 7 earths in front of them. In an instant, the latter and the others were shocked. Black field. They looked at the neatly dressed people from the black field behind Bei Qing and Feng Yu, and their hearts trembled. The people from the black field actually interfered with the matters of the imperial sect. Not only that, but they also personally dealt with them. Everyone's hearts trembled. At this moment, someone suddenly raised his head and saw Yi Qianxian and Luo Qingtong standing beside Yu Si-wang. Putting aside the latter for the time being, he immediately saw through the man's identity. Black Field, Ming Zun. It's the Black Field, Ming Zun. That person's face was filled with shock. He might not know Yi Qianxian, but with the dark golden mask on his face and the strength shown by Bei Qing and Feng Yu, how many people in the Black Field could order them around? Not to mention that the other party was standing side by side with Yu Si-wang. He screamed the moment he saw Yi Qianxian. When he saw the man hugging Luo Qingtong tightly, he gasped. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. It's Black Field's Ming Zun and Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Knowing the identity of the 2 people on the city wall, the people from the 3 islands and 7 lands didn't even have the slightest thought of resisting. Someone as strong as Ming Zun of the Black Field could cover the sky with one hand. What's more, the Great Yong's sacred dynasty was annihilated by him overnight. It could be seen that the Black Field's strength was tyrannical and terrifying. These people from the 3 islands and 7 lands took advantage of the fact that the imperial sect's strength was greatly damaged and Yu Si-wang was in trouble, not to mention facing the Black Field. Everyone fled in panic. However, when they rushed towards the imperial sect, their fate was already sealed. Yu Si-wang immediately ordered the imperial sect to activate the defensive barrier of the imperial sect, enveloping them within. If the people from the Black Field weren't here, the defensive barrier wouldn't be of much use. It would only allow the people from the imperial sect to hold on for a while. Chapter 1783. Everyone who wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to kill Yu Si-wang and destroy the imperial family all let out shrill screams as they rushed to the city gates. Their faces were filled with despair as they were killed by the people of the Black Field one by one. They couldn't escape even if they wanted to. They had paid a huge price for their ambition and greed. Bang bang bang. Outside the imperial family, the smell of blood filled the air. Luo Qingtong, Yi Qianxian, and Yu Si-wang had already returned to the imperial family. Tong. Yu Si-wang had just said this when he saw Yi Qianxian glare at him. Instantly, he clenched his teeth. Bastard, this damn man. Qing Tong. He said with an unwilling expression. Humph, if you don't want me to call you Tong Tong, can't I call you Qing Tong? Although it wasn't as intimate as Tong Tong, Thinking of this, Yu Si Wang's heart felt stifled. Yi Qianxian, this bastard, just you wait. Sooner or later, he will return to this level. Qing Tong, after I clean up the matters of the imperial family, I will immediately seal off the space at the bottom of the cliff. I will first send someone to investigate how big that place is and whether there are any other places like it in the Southern Territory. Yu Si Wang was the master of the imperial family, the overlord of the Southern Territory. When it came to serious matters, his expression turned solemn. Luo Qingtong nodded. She also had this intention. After all, the Southern Territory was Yu Si Wang's territory. Leaving this matter to him was the right choice. The appearance of the immortal jade bone this time was a rare opportunity for them. Luo Qingtong originally wanted to increase her strength before going to the hidden world. However, the spiritual energy in the true Spill continent was barren. Being able to reach the Saint Realm through the heart of 10,000 trees was already the limit. The sudden appearance of the immortal jade bones in the true Spill continent was a good thing for her and the people around her. Through the power of the immortal jade bones, they could improve themselves like the people in the hidden world. They didn't have to worry about the lack of spiritual energy in the true Spill continent. Luo Qingtong sneered as she thought of the Breeze Pavilion's order to cancel the qualifications of Su Xiaoxiao and the others to enter the hidden world. Martial Uncle Zhang thought that this would prevent them from improving their strength. However, even if she didn't go to the hidden world, she could still increase the strength of Ma Chenyi and the others. At that time, whether they could go to the hidden world or not would not be up to the Breeze Pavilion. Yu Si Wang to the Southern Territory, with Black. When the time came, they would kill monsters in the outer space of the cliff, temper themselves, and enhance their strength. She would purify the power of the immortal jade bones for them. Seeing Luo Qingtong think of him, Yi Qinqian's lips curved up in a smile. He held the slender waist of the girl in his arms and listened to her talk about the next plan with a smile of exultation. In his heart, there was a strange sense of satisfaction that came from a peaceful life. Was this the first time he had been taken care of by someone? Yi Qianxian deeply looked at the young girl in front of him. Ever since he met Luo Qingtong, his life had been broken again and again. The first time he was teased, the first time he was helpless, the first time, there were too many firsts. To be able to meet Luo Qingtong, this was perhaps the greatest accident of his life. And he liked this accident. Chapter 1784. Luo Qi. He suddenly called out. Then, under Luo Qingtong's puzzled gaze, he kissed her. Between the heavens and the earth, there was only one person. She loved him, and she would never let him down. Yu Si Wang quickly explored the southern domain. Besides the space at the bottom of the cliff, there were many other places where those monsters had appeared. Those places were the places where the spiritual energy in the southern domain had the most violent outbursts. However, the other places weren't large. Only the space at the bottom of the cliff was enormous. The further down they went, the deeper and larger it became. It was as if the entire mountain range and several other mountain ranges had been hollowed out. Obviously, the space at the bottom of the cliff was the source of this outburst of spiritual energy. Moreover, it was the place where the immortal jade bones had fallen the most. Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian stood on the cliff of this space at the bottom of the cliff. The space here has traces of loosening. The man's eyes were deep. Yi Qianxian's eyes narrowed as he looked at the almost endless space at the bottom of the cliff in front of him. He and Beiqing, Fengyu, and the others had explored the area and found that the space here had loosened. Someone had opened a space here that led to the outside. It was likely because of this that when the aura of the land of the fallen immortals erupted in the hidden world, it followed the traces of the space loosening and erupted in the southern domain. Someone opened this passage that led to the outside. That is to say, someone went through here to go to the outside. Luo Qingtong looked at him with surprise. She knew that Yi Qianxian and the others didn't need to go through the hidden world to enter and exit the outside. In the true Spill continent, how many people could do this? Without knowing why, Luo Qingtong inexplicably thought of the blue smoke in Feng Wuan's body. She narrowed her eyes. Could it be the other party? If so, then it could explain why she couldn't find Feng Wuan's whereabouts. She was afraid that she had already gone to the outside. Yi Qianxian nodded. The other party should have taken advantage of the eruption of aura from the land of the fallen immortals to forcefully open the passage from True Spill continent to the outer realms. After that, it didn't close. The aura of the land of the fallen immortals erupted and spread over here. If it weren't for this, then with the firm barrier between the hidden world and the True Spill continent, there wouldn't have been a situation where the immortal jade bone erupted in the southern domain after the aura of the fallen immortal erupted. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded. If that was the case, then everything made sense. No wonder the celestial jade bone had never erupted outside of the hidden world for so many years. This time, it had suddenly appeared in the southern region. However, this also happened to help him. Luo Qingtong's lips curved slightly. Let's go, Qianren. Let's go down. The group of people flew down the cliff. At the bottom of the cliff, Elder Luo, Su Yu, and Su Xiaoxiao were all there. They had been summoned by Luo Qingtong. After arriving here, they realized that what Luo Qingtong had brought them was a great opportunity. The power contained within the immortal jade bone was extremely pure. Moreover, it was a higher level of immortal spirit energy. After everyone took it, their strength rose steadily. Su Xiaoxiao and the others had already taken the wood spirit heart and their strength had risen to the sage realm. Chapter 1785. However, after that, the increase in their strength slowed down. This was normal. No matter how pure the energy in the immortal jade bone was, it was not an elixir. It was impossible to raise their strength to a high level all of a sudden. They needed to slowly increase their comprehension step by step. The reason why they were able to surpass the sage realm was because their previous level was too low and it was their first time coming into contact with immortal spiritual energy. Everyone was very excited to see Luo Qingtong. They all gathered around her. Qingtong. Boss. Master. Luo Qingtong nodded at them. Then she saw little Overlord Yuan and the others scratching their heads and wanting to call Yi Qianxian. She immediately called them back. This group of idiots should know their place. Grandpa, you guys stay here and increase your strength. Qianren and I will go to the center of the cliff to take a look. The immortal jade bones around them were not enough for Luo Qingtong to increase her strength. She had to go deeper. Since this space was opened by someone, she had to go and seal the space with Yi Qianxian. Otherwise, if this space was left open and the aura of the fallen immortal land continued to pour in, it would cause irreversible consequences. Luo Qingtong did not want the southern region or even the entire True Spill continent to become the next fallen immortal land. Alright, Qingtong, be careful. Grandfather Luo and the others also knew that the formation of the space at the bottom of the cliff was not normal. In the past few days, they had already hunted many monsters that had swallowed the immortal jade bones. They found that not only did their numbers not decrease, they were increasing. Not only that, but their strength was also increasing. Obviously, there was something strange in the depths of this space. Luo Qingtong looked at them and nodded. She purified all the immortal jade bones that Grandfather Luo and the others had hunted and then gave them to them. Then she went to the depths of the space at the bottom of the cliff with Yi Qianming and Yu Sihuang. After absorbing the death energy in the immortal jade bones, the sapling of the ancient heavenly spirit tree grew even more vigorously. The branches around it stretched out and 4 more leaves appeared on the branches. Luo Qingtong looked at the 4 leaves and was in a very good mood. These 4 leaves represented 4 soul seal talents. Luo Qingtong was not in a hurry to consume them. She wanted to let them grow for a while. This was because Little Pig had told him that plucking too many leaves in the early stages would affect the ancient heavenly spirit tree's growth. This was similar to how a cultivator's foundation would be damaged too much in the early stages, and it would be very difficult for them to improve in the later stages. Luo Qingtong naturally didn't want to affect the growth of the ancient heavenly spiritual wood, so she let the 4 leaves grow there first. When she needed them in the future, she would pluck them. The group plunged into the depths of the space at the bottom of the cliff. The monsters they encountered along the way were much stronger than those in the periphery. Luo Qingtong, Yi Qianming, and the others hunted their way over. Because Yu Siwang had to take care of the people of the imperial sect and he didn't get along with Yi Qianming, the two parted ways halfway. Luo Qingtong, Yi Qianming, and the others kept going deeper and deeper. The group plunged towards the center of the space. While Yi Qianming accompanied Luo Qingtong to kill monsters, Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others spread out, looking for the space that had been torn open. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.